Could I have a motion, please, to adopt the agenda? Moved by Councillor Dolan, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All those in favor? Carried. Petitions and delegations. Marilin States Physician Recruitment. Welcome, Marilin.
Thank you. Good morning. Well, afternoon now, I should say.
Afternoon. Hopefully you don't have as much snow as we do, but
we're green.
You're green, are you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, now we're green with envy is right. Well, Marilin, welcome to the Northern Rockies. Physician recruitment. Yeah. I understand that you're good at recruiting physicians and you're going to share your knowledge with us.
Well, we've had some success and I'm very proud of that and very pleased for our community and other communities that I've helped over the years, and happy to try and provide some guidance and understanding about how we have come to be and my role, kind of my background a little bit, if that's helpful to you. And yes, I'm happy to answer any questions at any point. Please feel free.
Sure, I'll let you go ahead with your presentation then, including your background, and I'll hand it off to you.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for this opportunity, because I live and breathe it, and I really am deeply engaged with it because I think it's a real success story for not only Creston Valley, but the province. And so my background is that I started off as a nurse many years ago. We still wore bibs and aprons when I was in training, so that's a while ago. And I've been a critical care nurse, emergency room, intensive care for a number of years. Was the director of acute care services here in Creston, so I'm familiar with the processes and challenges that are realized by rural hospitals in British Columbia. My husband is an MD here. He's a general practitioner who does mental health full-time, actually, and a former chief of staff. So in fact, even when I was there, so we worked at arm's length. My home telephone, of course, is ringing. May I just interrupt that?
From Covenant, please. Oh.
That's the one thing I forgot to turn off, and that my apologies, my sincere apologies. And in recruitment, my background goes back to being a nurse, physician, and allied health professional recruiter in the US back in the 1980s and 1990s. At that time, I was provided I didn't get a full master's degree, but master's level programming in marketing and outreach. And in 2001, I actually was asked to assist at Health Match BC with their nurse recruitment program, which was launching to recruit nurses from overseas. They were doing a major recruitment launch from Australia. And so I was the boots on the ground in BC to help those people who were transported to Australia to meet them in person. And so I did that role as a nurse consultant for Health Match BC in Vancouver, 2001 to 2003, and continued as a consultant for them until 2010 from here in Creston. And my role was to do strategic planning around nurse recruitment in British Columbia. We were very short of nurses. Many nurses were leaving for the United States at that time, being tempted by the almighty dollar. And we really needed to do something to keep our own here in British Columbia from at least for a period of time, and have them engage here in BC and show them that they were wanted. And that was key, is showing them that they are wanted, that they are appreciated, and that we're reaching out to them. And so that crosses over now into my role of what I do. The key thing at Health Match BC that that I became very engaged with and very pleased with was that health authorities were very, very young at that point. They were just being formulated, and to have them working collaboratively and strategically to recruit for the province of British Columbia, and then have them fall out to where that candidate best was suited, is a really important piece, and I think very important in any health authority's recruitment of any health individual, and actually for anyone looking to relocate, because it provides the best health care, and it provides for retention. And retention is the most important part of recruitment, in my opinion, because you don't want to just spin your wheels and reinvent yourself over and over again, recruiting, unless you can retain those people that you've recruited, and have them be a part then of your recruitment team. And I believe that's where a lot of our success is that our recruitment of physicians has led, and the way in which we've done it has led to retention. Any questions to this point?
Counselors? No, I think we're good.
Okay, so I'd like to move on to who are the players. And you're sitting at the table right now, many of you. And I really believe that, in no particular order, the players are the community at large, the doctors in those communities, the local and regional governments, so mayor, council, regional district directors, the Northern Health Authority, the divisions of family practice, Health Match BC, and a key contact person, a boots on the ground person for that community that you are recruiting to for that particular individual. And that might be that you have an individual that you would look at for 2 communities at the same time within your region, and be able to sort out where they fit best so that they will be retained. Yours is a unique situation because you're looking at, it appears to me, a broader area than just one specific community. Whereas, while we call it Creston Valley because that's our catchment area, the physicians are located in Creston. So similarly here, I'm recruiting for the community of Creston for all the clinics, and really it's about where the opportunities exist in those clinics where the physician goes, but also it's about where are they a best fit for their style of practice, that kind of thing. Because it's about them in the community first, the clinic next, and the retention around that piece, and how they get along with one another. And we're very lucky because our physicians are all very collegial. They all get along with one another. They all share call at our hospital. We have 24/7 emergency here. And we have some subspecialists, so they're family practice physicians who do anesthesia, or who do who do deliveries, or who do surgery. Those are not full-time roles. They are an adjunct role to who they are as a family physician in their clinic and in the emergency department. So I think an ambassador for your community that represents the community that represents the clinics, that works in collaboration with the physician, with the clinic. Those kinds of things are paramount to your success. How do I do this? Our referrals mostly come from a combination of Health Match BC and me going out to conferences and meeting people firsthand. That's a luxury for us and for some other communities who've since done it. To be able to go out and meet people one-on-one, be able to answer their questions, represent the community, and not feel any necessary pressure by a particular clinic, but rather it's about the community, about lifestyle, about being a part of that community, and realizing what's here for them and what they can offer to the community. Those, I think, are real key pieces. This program has now been going on in Creston since 2007, basically. In 2006, there was a steering committee developed. And in 2007, it really launched, and 2008 as a pilot project. And in 2008, won a Best Practices Award from the Union of BC Municipalities for the innovative program. And here it is, 2020. I have been doing this here in Creston now since 2011, the fall of 2011. My anniversary is actually coming up the end of November. So it's, I've had a number of years experience with it now. I recruit both locums and permanent physicians to the community. The physicians keep in contact with me about when they'd like to take, well, pre-COVID, a holiday that's extended maybe to Europe or South Africa or on a cruise. And so for times that they were away for longer than a week or longer than a week, and really felt it would be beneficial to their clinic and to the community to have somebody come in, because we are not on the locums for BC radar, because we are too large, we have too many physicians here. I believe that you would be, for many of your communities, eligible under that Locums for BC program, which is a subsidiary of Health Match BC. I do that locum recruitment. I think that whoever your, if you decide to go that route, whoever your representative, your ambassador, your recruiter would be for a particular community, for them to be involved in that process would be very helpful. Not necessarily required, but certainly very helpful, because what we have found is very often locums who come once, come twice, and then they come and stay. My husband came here to do a 3-month locum 23 years ago. We forgot to leave. We fell in love with the community and stayed. And I think that's what I can bring to the table, is that we have become a large part of the community, in the sense that I am very active within the community. I've actually had to drop off many of the committees that I was on because my recruitment takes up quite a bit of my time, because I engage myself with it whenever the physician is available, which often is a weekend or an evening or late in the evening, or if they are overseas and they're a recruit through Health Match BC from the UK, for example, our time zones are completely different. So when they're available, either before or generally after a shift, is quite different time-wise. So I'll stop at that point, and please, anything at all that you wish to ask, I'm happy to answer, or at least attempt to answer for you.
So, Mrs. States, 2 things. First of all, you'd mentioned regional districts and municipalities, and we are a combination of both. So you have both in the room now, because because we have a regional municipality and our council represents both the region and the municipality. Also, we have only one hospital and we have only one clinic in Northern Rockies.
Okay.
For a background, and we do take advantage of the locum, we do have locums come here, so I believe we are on the list for locums. Councillor Gerwin?
Hi, thank you very much for joining us today. I really, really appreciate it. I'm Councillor Lorraine Gerwing. I've lived in the community for 30 years and really, really passionate about the health portfolio. I have a couple of questions. First of all, do you recruit for more than just physicians or simply physicians?
Yes, I actually have recruited for other allied health professionals for Creston Valley under their request, and with me going to the Creston Valley Health Working Group, which is what we call our group that I report to, for dentists, for physiotherapists, and I've been asked just to be the liaison person on occasion for a nurse coming to the community. And spin off from that is it's difficult to find rentals in Creston. And so I have a little network going on where people will say, you know, we're going to go away to the south for the winter. If you have a locum coming in or someone coming in and you need a furnished place, get in touch with me or let me know, or whatever that looks like and how much they would ask for it. And so the spinoff from that is the RCMP and other professionals in the community have asked me to step in and help them find accommodation. So that's kind of a spinoff piece. But
Okay, thank you.
yes,
And then,
I have recruited for others.
thanks, sorry. My other question is, how do you work with a health authority? So currently we are not doing recruiting outside of what's being done in conjunction with Northern Health.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that we're encouraged to recruit outside of that basis. At least that's my impression.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit about how you work with the health authority, if you even do? Like, how do you manage this?
So, very good question. I would offer this. Each time there is a reorganization, a different person hired to manage physician recruitment with Interior Health for this area, it has been a learning curve for that individual because we are unique. In the East Kootenays, I am the only community representative. So they basically say, run with it, just keep us informed of people that you're working with. Because my role really doesn't cross over theirs, except that they on occasion will provide referrals, but primarily my referral base, if not someone that I've met myself, is from Health Match BC. And when Health Match BC sends out that referral, they send it to me and copy Interior Health Recruitment. So Interior Health immediately knows that I've received it because I'm copied on that email. And I begin working with the candidate. I write an email to them almost immediately and introduce myself, tell them a little bit about the community, and just give them enough that they want more. It's kind of a, hi, how are you? Kind of, this is my role and this is how I can help you, and I look forward to further communications with you. And once I have sent that, I send an email back to the health authority and say, I've made initial contact with the candidate, we'll keep you posted. And they often acknowledge and just say, thanks, Marilyn, I know you got it. and that's basically it. It took some time to get to that point. Over the last 9 years, I've gone through a number of different ways in which Interior Health has looked at that. We, for a time, had someone in the East Kootenays, in Cranbrook, who was assigned physician recruitment for the East Kootenays. And so my contact would be with them, and they then would communicate with Kelowna, which is their regional area, for Interior Health. And since that time, it's now in Kelowna at the headquarters, and I copy them and I write to them and say, I've made communication with this candidate and I'll keep you informed. Or I've reviewed this candidate and they're not really what we're looking for. If you have other communities in mind, please feel free to forward them on. I just like to keep that open door, open relationship with them, keep them informed. As I hear back from the candidate, I don't share all the details. I just say, I'm working with them. They're bogged down. They've got enough to do. And they know that if I'm looking after them, they're being looked after. So that's how I work with the Interior Health Authority, is that I'm just their touch point. And because we're funded by the Town of Creston and the regional district directors through the Creston Valley Health Working Group, if we want to bring a candidate here for a site visit pre-COVID, we would fund it ourselves and choose those people that we were bringing. I don't at this point know what Northern Health's regulations are regarding that, but Interior Health has a whole set of requirements before someone does a site visit, which includes things like having references on that candidate. Like, they want to know that this is a absolutely solid, for sure candidate. And I get that. They are looking at a myriad of communities. They don't have someone necessarily like myself who has the background and kind of that sixth sense, if you will, about candidates. I review their CV. I talk with the chief of staff. We've had communications, the chief of staff and I, about the candidate, sometimes also the clinic, very often also the clinic. And at a point at which we reach out and say, why don't you come and do a site visit? We're pretty confident that that person will be a good fit for us. And we bring them here to do a social meet and greet, see the community, see the clinic, see the hospital, talk one-on-one with the physicians, meet their families, even if they're a family person. And that, I think, has been our success, because with the rule, if you will, that they have all their references in place and all that kind of thing. For some candidates, especially overseas candidates or people who are in a practice, even in British Columbia or another province in British Columbia, or in Canada, they don't necessarily want their employer or their colleagues who could write a good reference for them to know that they are shopping, because maybe they're shopping 6 months out, a year out. That's very often the case, especially for overseas clients. They don't want to let that cat out of the bag yet until they've come and said, wow, yes, okay, I'm really serious about this. I was serious, but now I know that I can commit to this because it's something that's going to be right for me, my family, and so on. And I know that in 2 instances, that was the difference for us, was the fact that we had someone like myself who was committed to assisting that person in their relocation, that we did not require their official references up to that point, that we could glean enough information from them, from telephone calls, from communications by email, the chief of staff having communicated with them, or the clinic that they were going to having communicated with them, that we knew that they were a solid candidate that we really wanted to meet. And so that's the one piece, I think, that's the workaround that has helped us. And I apologize, I've not looked into what Northern Health's regulations are, if even I would have access to that information. But that is something that is a requirement here
Okay.
for a
May I?
site visit.
Okay, so just expanding on that a little bit, you said that your answer was kind of like you got a hit from Health Match BC.
Correct.
So what if there was a need in your community and there wasn't a referral? That's a better word than hit, but that there wasn't that there wasn't a referral from Health Match BC.
Right.
Do you then go out and try to find candidates to meet the need that's been addressed in the community?
Yes, so typically I will go to 2 major conferences for family physicians a year. And one of those is the Society of Rural Physicians of Canada, SRPC, and they have an annual conference that moves from one coast to the other. I have found that to be my most successful conference for recruitment. Several of our accessions, if you will, over the last few years have been one-on-one, person-to-person meetings at that conference. I have a booth. It's not fancy. It's not the big, display behind me. It's a tabletop display and a pull-up kind of banner sign, and it's me and only me. And I meet people, I chat with them, I talk to them about what their interests are, what they're looking for, and this is in a general hall, if you will, where it could be anything from a representative drug company to other recruiters from around Canada, other communities in BC, the divisions of BC, the health authorities, Health Match BC, all might be there. But I see us working collaboratively and not in silo and not against one another, because the right candidate for us may not be the right candidate for somewhere else. So in learning a little bit about the person and their interests and their social interests, that's how I best can say, and I do it all the time, I say, I think you might be better off to go talk to Health Match BC and specifically have a chat with Vancouver Island Health Authority or Northern Health, or, and I referred actually many to Northern Health, who I thought were really interested in a much more rural experience than what we could offer because of our size of community, amount of doctors, our proximity to other places and things, and they really wanted a much more rurally engaging, kind of place, and the kinds of opportunities they might have in those areas. I've kept in touch with many people that I've worked with over the years, and I'll try and reach out to them and say, do you have this? And if I'm at a conference, I'll go and chat with them before we get started or during the event, when candidates aren't in the room, when the physicians attending the conference aren't in the room. And find out what they're looking for, because if I can't help them, I'd really much rather them go to somewhere else in BC, because that helps us all out. And does that answer your question?
It does, thank you. Can you speak a little bit about this steering committee that was formed in 2007? Like, what's the makeup? Like,
Yep.
how does that all work?
Okay, so the steering committee has transitioned, if you will, over to the pilot project, and then transitioned to, excuse me, the Creston Valley Health Working Group. And the composition of that is the mayor or his Mayor Ron Toyota, his representative, members of staff of the, so the town manager, or whatever that title is at this time. They changed titles, but it's basically the town manager, the finance officer for the town, a physician, a member from Interior Health from their regional / community level. We don't have someone at this point. We used to have an Interior Health representative on site in Creston all the time. It's now someone who covers Creston as well as a couple of other communities. So that person is a member of the Creston Valley Health Working Group, and myself, and the 2 regional district directors who provide funding to the program, and they're very active members as well. So if I can go back, it's mayor or representative, staff, which would be the finance officer and the town manager, a physician, and an Interior Health representative, and myself.
Okay, and then this, so then the Creston Valley Health Working Group comes up with like an annual plan or a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan or whatever, and then that's sort of directs your work. Is that how it flows?
Yes, I write that plan. And we meet quarterly pre-COVID. Now I send out an email with what I've been doing and what I plan to be doing and that kind of thing. And actually, I've been busier during COVID than I've ever been. And so it's been very interesting because everything has to be done now by Zoom or by telephone or by email. I don't get that opportunity to meet face to face until they're actually coming here to do a locum, other than by Zoom. What I do is I toward the end of each year, I look at what our budget has looked like over the past year, how we've spent it, and what events I feel like we should go to. Early on, I was going to about 5 different events a year until I honed down which ones were the most productive for me, meaning for our community, for accessions, but not losing sight of those smaller ones that did bring us some visibility, if you will. And really, I go to 3. The other one is the Rural Coordination Center of BC, RCCBC, has an annual conference. And I really attend that mostly to, I call it waving the flag, to say that we're still out here, we're still very supportive of RCCBC, and it's not really a recruitment event. Occasionally I'll meet a physician there who's out in the locum circuit and looking at a locum, at doing a locum, being available to that. or someone who's looking at retiring from a larger rural community and wanting to move to something smaller, slower, and that are interested in finding out more about Creston. But I wouldn't say that's where I get my accessions from, but rather it's somewhere that I make contacts and I maintain my contacts with colleagues. I think that's a really important piece as well. So my recommendation then to the committee of the Creston Valley Health Working Group is I've come across this candidate and I'd really like to reach further into this and you know, bring them to the community, meeting with the centers of influence of our community, that kind of thing, especially if they are someone who has a spouse who is also a professional. So for example, one of our recruits was a physician and a pharmacist, and one of our pharmacies here at the time was looking for a pharmacist. So I felt I needed to reach back to the health working group and say, I want to expand this a bit so that I can work with both at the same time. And it's always, Marilyn, you know what you're doing, just go do it, just go do it. I said, it's your money. And they say, yes, but what, you know, it gets us a doctor and, you know, so it's a win-win. And I've really been blessed with their support. And the other situation was I was at a conference in Vancouver. A candidate who I'd been working with at a distance, of course, through email at that point, was at the conference, and we had, you know, several conversations. And I called the mayor and said, I want to bring him back with me, and he's free to come for the weekend. Can I spend that money and fly him back with me and put him up in a hotel for a day or two and arrange something? And he goes, yes. So as the chair and of our health working group, and he now lives and works here. So he said, you've never brought one home in your suitcase before, Marilyn, but good on you. So those are the times at which I have to reach out, other than that I've provided my strategic plan for the year, what our needs look like. However, even if we don't have, which has only happened once in 9 years, an actual vacancy at that time, because of our numbers that are provided by Interior Health as to how many physicians, you know, can be here and get all the, I call it the goodies, their incentive payments and that kind of thing. I still believe that we need to be seen out in the world of recruitment and be seen by the physicians who may be thinking about slowing down. Maybe they want to come and work part-time. They want to do a part-time practice, not necessarily a full-time practice. And if they're Canadian, they certainly can do that. It's your overseas ones who have to be a permanent physician to be able to receive benefits and support by the province and become someone who gets a work permit and then a permanent residency in the province. Well, in Canada, but to live in the province. So to be best able to work with people in an ongoing way, because you never know what's going to happen. Someone can get ill, someone can have an injury and not be able to work anymore, or their spouse's status changes and they move away from the community. that creates a vacancy you didn't know you were going to have. And so you always have to stay one step ahead. That's how I have always worked. I have the support of the health working group in doing that. And I went to those conferences that year. And in fact, I did meet somebody who wasn't looking to move then, but a year and a half later, reached out again. We maintained kind of a very distant being in contact. And so I think it's proved itself time and time again that we have to be proactive, and it's about someone boots on the ground who knows, is passionate about the community, and who can reach out and be that person to support them in every way that they need to, before, during, and once they've arrived.
Can I go? Does anybody else have any? Yeah, no, you go ahead, Nan.
Hi Marilyn, it's Jaylene. I'm trying to put my
Hi.
head in here. I just have a quick question about the health working group. Is the primary goal of the group to recruit, or are there
Yes.
other? Okay.
Primary goal is to recruit physicians to the Creston Valley and to retain the physicians in the Creston Valley.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Councillor Gerwin, go ahead.
Okay, so just hypothetically,
Okay.
if a community was looking at creating such a working group as what the Creston Valley has,
Mhm.
how would that community find a Marilin?
Someone within your community who is passionate about the community, someone who's got the time and ability to communicate with people, and who can have a good rapport with the physicians of the community. I think that's really, your best person. They don't have to have a health background. I do. But I don't think that's key. The person who was doing this job prior to my stepping into it, so from 2006 when it became an idea, a seed in someone's mind, until 2011 when they posted it because she was moving to another community with her husband where his job transferred her. I was the liaison to her when she took that role on, because the town did come to me and say, if we wanted to do this, what would it look like? What do you think some of the things are? Because they knew I was in recruitment for the province at Health Match BC at the time. And I said, well, it would look like this, and blah, 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 and wrote a point paper for them. And that became the role of the recruiter, was to do these things. And then when they appointed someone, they asked if I would communicate with them about some of the salient points, the keys about how to communicate, when to communicate, how often, those kinds of things. Where do you find them? Because her background had been in administration and even some human resource background, which was very helpful, I believe. And then I just gave her some of the little pointers, did some introductions, and she was on her way, and she did a fantastic job. And then when she left the community, they posted it again. I had just retired for, I think, a third time from Health Match BC, because I was still a consultant of theirs. And while I had told the community here that I didn't feel like, even though I was on the nursing portfolio, that I was at a good distant arm's length from physician recruitment, which was the initial role of Health Match BC. And because their offices were right next to mine, was that, a and I knew them all very well, was that reasonable for me to be doing? Could it be seen as being an insider? And so I felt like I could help by, if they hired someone, that I could be that person in the background. And that I was still a consultant to Health Match BC at that point. I was until 2010. In a call me up and ask me to do something kind of a role. I wasn't physically working at that location. I was at a distance, and I was traveling for them. I was supporting people that they hired, traveling down to Vancouver to meet with them and to provide them some background as to how to be successful at what they were doing. But once I left that, and then so in 2010 and then 2011, they posted that they were looking for someone, and my husband had asked me many times, honey, you travel so much with Health Match BC, you're never home. And so I said, well, you do realize that this role will require me to be doing some traveling. Oh yeah, but not as much. And of course, initially I was on the road quite a bit, and I was attending meetings and so on. But I knew, and I was a successful candidate.
Mrs. States, we're having a little technical difficulty here. We just missed the last 60 seconds of your conversation.
Okay, thank you. I saw a thing that said something about the internet being unstable or something. Anyway, so to go back, I had been asked to help mentor the person who was hired here in Creston initially, and she was very successful. She was transferred when her husband was to another community. And so they posted the position. I interviewed, was hired, and haven't looked back. I quite love what I do.
Marilyn, could we get access to the point paper that you wrote?
I wouldn't have a problem with it. I'll just ask the mayor if it's okay, because I wrote it, to them, right, for them. But I don't think he'd have an issue with me providing you that.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Andrews.
So Marilyn, have you ever been to Fort Nelson? It's quite lovely here.
I have. Is that a surprise to you? I have. So when my husband was looking for somewhere to settle, he was one of these guys who went into medicine after a couple of other careers. And so when in 1993, no, sorry, wrong. In 1994, 95, we bought a truck and camper, and he built a trailer that held our bicycle built for two and a canoe. And we took off all over the province trying to decide where to settle. And we were in the north quite a lot. And we loved it up there. And we fly fished and we did all that kind of thing. An opportunity came up in Creston for a 3-month locum, and the rest is history. Beautiful up there. It really,
Mrs. States, we've become unstable again. You might have to get your husband to look into this, because he may have some input into things that are unstable. So
right. So I was just saying that I am familiar with Fort Nelson, with where it is, that we traveled a great deal looking for somewhere to settle. Came here to do a 3-month locum in Creston, and the rest is history.
So no chance to recruit you up here to do this job for us.
I see. No, probably not. I'm very busy down here. But
so probably doesn't mean no.
I would be willing to come and do a presentation at some point, once COVID kind of settles down. If you found people that you were interested in, to meet with them, or to, if you hire someone to help guide them, I would be willing to come and do that. My fee would not be prohibitive. I don't charge enough probably for what I do. But I'm passionate about it, and I love what I do. And yes, I'm willing to help you find someone else.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mrs. States? Hearing none, Mrs. States, thank you very much for your time today. I see we're getting close to 1 o'clock. Really appreciate your presentation today, and gave us a lot of insights as to next steps. Primarily, I think in Fort Nelson at the moment, we're more interested in recruiting nurses than physicians, but that, as you said, can change very rapidly. So we will look at next steps here and see where we go.
And nurses can be found at Health Match BC as well as physicians.
Mhm.
So that's a place to reach out to.
Well, thank you. Any other comments, councillors?
I just want to express my appreciation also for you taking the time to do this today. I know we've been waiting a while to get together, and I'm really
Yes.
sad that it couldn't happen face to face. Scott and I were just talking that we want to move down there just to be your friends. So thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome. It's my pleasure. And Jaylene, reach out to me at any time, or any of you around the table. You're welcome to send me an email or whatever. And if I can be of help, I'm happy to do so.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Bye.
Very well. Councillors, any comments? Councillor Goering.
I just see that there's 5 participants. I'm just wondering who else was on the call.
We had Leonora attending
Okay,
to take notes, and Annette was also in attendance.
was she? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
What a wonderful lady, eh?
Right?
Holy.
I really like the idea of the, what did she call it? Creston Valley Health Working Group. Again, I know that they're very focused on physicians, and some of our needs are obviously different, right? But Dwayne can't get a pharmacist, and there's other needs. So I don't know whether we have to wait for our strategic planning. I'm sorry that the other 2 council people weren't here, but perhaps they could watch the recording and get the same information. Yeah, I just thought that it was really, really valuable, and I'm very, very pleased that we were able to meet with her.
Have we had any contact with Health Match BC?
So we worked with Health Match in the fall of last year to update our community profile page, because it didn't necessarily reflect positively on the community. So they integrated some new imagery, and they updated the description to be a lot more engaging and representative of what we see ourselves, how we see ourselves.
And how were the people at Health Match BC? Were they pretty keen?
So we have a great contact at Health Match, Sheila Wilson. She was formerly a physician recruiter for Northern Health and now works for Health Match. And so she continues to be a great point of contact. We don't, in the way that Marilin has a relationship with Interior Health, we don't have that same connectivity. So Northern Health very much manages recruitment themselves. So we don't see referrals. When there's a referral from Health Match to the health authority, we don't see those. So I guess the NRM's role in recruitment has typically been when contacted by the physicians or any physician. So years ago, we kind of got a cold call from Dr. Lupu and Dr. Hadding, and expressing an interest to come and see the community and learn more about Fort Nelson. And so we kind of just we met with them individually, and they had, we connected them with Dr. Mostert because obviously that relationship is an important one to foster. And it was a good year to 18 months later that they made the decision to come north and relocate permanently. So kind of to what Marilyn talked about, that it's not always like a quick win. A lot of times it's that connect and follow up and just touch base later on. And then when the time is right for those individuals, they may or may not make the decision.
So I guess my sense of it is, you know, Dr. Mostert sort of runs his own show down there. He doesn't come to the municipality, you know, for any assistance when he's looking for physicians, and Northern Health doesn't come to the municipality asking very much when they're attempting to recruit nurses to the area. And I'm wondering if there isn't, you know, do we need to work on those relationships? Do we have an ask of Northern Health to include us more in that recruitment, or Health Match BC to say, you know, we want to have a bigger role in this, and how can we help? And do you need us to go to some of the organizations that Marilyn States had mentioned, or, you know, just be available to some of these nurses or physicians who may be looking to relocate, and to sort of be the, I don't know, the Walmart greeter, I guess, if you like. So is there a role for us, or are they more or less siloed here? They would just prefer us to stay out of it. So do we have a sense of that, or do we have any?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
No,
I
I'm
mean,
just-
there's
I'm
no
just
harm in
wondering.
asking. Yeah, there's no harm in asking or offering to be that kind of liaison or the ambassador, like Mrs. States described. So I will say that since Annette came into her role at the hospital, we've worked together to improve the welcome package. So whenever we do get a candidate that relocates, there's a fulsome amount of information that's provided. I know Annette's taken a lot more time with new candidates to show them the community, and as a new resident herself, maybe there's not that kind of same background with certain things, but the touch is definitely there that maybe wasn't in years past. So, but there's always room for improvement, and Annette and I have chatted a lot about, you know, what would be some nice additions. So when locums come, the Northern Rockies has always, I mean, we provide housing, so we always provide a welcome basket and some gift certificates to local shops, and little tokens of appreciation and a thank you card for taking the time to come north and, you know, work here for 2 weeks. So we're doing similar things on the nursing side, realizing that that's not a practice for physicians alone, that anybody appreciates those touches. So we're putting rec passes in the welcome packages for nurses so that it gets them out of the hospital and out of their unit to go and have a coffee at Down to Earth, or go have a swim at the pool or whatever.
So just from my own experience, with people who come to the community and who you know, here for work or something, they don't seem to have, they don't know where to start, and they don't have any friends in the community. And I'm just thinking that council could play a larger role in this as that ambassador, or, you know, there, excuse me, there may be an age difference between the nurses, for instance, coming here. But there are people in our community who I think we could reach out to that would be good ambassadors to, I don't know what the proper term is, but take some of these healthcare workers under their wing, so that they're not sitting there in their, you know, the residents at the hospital doing nothing. I'm just thinking that there's a larger role for us to play here. Councillor Growing.
It was Sheila Wilson from Health Match BC that really encouraged us to connect with Marilyn States to, because when I was speaking to her, she said this is a really good example of how a community got involved in recruiting for their community. And so it's a real good example that it can be done. You know, we perhaps council might be interested in finding a way to supplement what Northern Health does in terms of recruiting for our community. Because when we ask the questions as to what recruiting practices have you put in place for Northern Health, like for Northern Rockies, at that time it was few and far between. That said, Annette has done a fabulous job in the last little while of recruiting. Perhaps she might be interested in some assistance. Like, I don't know. That's why it might be a good first step to see if there's even any appetite to put together a steering committee to start the process. Like,
Yes, Councilor Roper.
Yeah, just my takeaway from the presentation from Marilyn is that there would be a lot of value in the municipality taking on a more active role in conjunction with Northern Health if we're going to achieve our goals, our priorities, and that is providing the community with equitable access to healthcare. And I don't feel that's going to happen unless we take the reins and do something like Marilyn was saying. And Councillor Goering, you and I had a conversation last year at NCLGA about a person whose job it would be to make sure that we're on the ground and we're actively taking care of this situation. So I think there would be a lot of benefits in doing something similar to what Marilyn described that was done in Creston. Absolutely.
yeah, and I'm thinking like the steering committee, like if the strategic plan indicated that we needed to recruit pharmacists, right? Because like Dwayne is having a heck of a time. He can't even leave this drugstore to go out to any of these conferences to be able to do recruiting, right? So there's that. And positions that maybe Northern Health is not recruiting for. And I really like how Marilyn said that she's always working ahead. And it seems to me that we're always working behind, because it was Dr. Mostert that brought up the impending nursing shortage a while ago. And, you know, the red flag wasn't put out until he put it out, right? And so if we had some sort of a steering committee, or call it whatever, and he was on it, or a physician was on it, we would have known about that sooner. And perhaps we could have been more proactive to prevent the shortage from happening in the first place. I don't know whether we would have or not, but
No, but we would have had an opportunity to try.
we would.
And that's, yeah, and I think that's important. And I think these are, you know, as long as we're going someplace we're welcome, we're not barging into the door of, you know, the drugstores when they, you know, we don't want to be recruiting for pharmacists if
No.
the pharmacists don't want us there. But if they do, you know, maybe there's an opportunity for us. Any other questions? Any other comments? Very well. I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Dolan, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All those in favor? And we are adjourned.